Right now to this, the United Pan Africanism Movement will be presenting Youth Recognition Awards on June 16th. That's tomorrow. It's to commemorate the youth of 1976 and the current youth striving to change and shape the future. For more on this, we are joined by Nhongo Solo from the United Pan Africanism Movement in studio. Thank you very much for joining us. Just tell me more about these particular awards. Exactly who are the candidates that you feel deserve it, especially with the youth of today?
Okay, thank you so much. Greetings to you and your listeners. So basically we are commemorating June 16 with the spirit of unity, I think, which is something that was common when we saw the struggle that took place in 1976, where they overlooked who belonged to where and where they are coming from, but they united as young people in order to overcome those struggles. And we are saying we must shift our sights now and begin as young people to stop crying and begin to shape up our future. And by doing that, we know that there are young people who are activists in the society who have been doing much, and those young people must be recognized. Those that are within our communities and those that have left the community, so that we motivate them to come back and give back to the community yet again. So what we have done, we have recognized people in different categories. Those who are activists, who are just operating at an NGO, NPO level. Those who are entrepreneurs, putting money into their businesses. Those who are actually in entertainment space, art also space, sports also, because we'll also be playing sports. So those are the categories that we've looked at, and we are saying to young people, we see their efforts, we recognize their efforts, we appreciate their efforts, and therefore we unite together to appreciate that. But also we are saying those who have left must come back and remember where they are from, because it took the village to raise them, and where they are now, they must come back and develop even further.
You know, looking at the fact that tomorrow we're celebrating Youth Day, over 20 years into democracy, you know, do you feel that the youth of today, or the youth at all, actually is well represented in government and those who govern this country?
Tomorrow, actually, we are just celebrating one side of the Youth Day, which is that of conquering Afrikaans as a compulsory language. But we are not celebrating the Youth Day in its entirety, because you can't celebrate if you don't have the fruit of the seed that was planted in 1976. So we are only commemorating, appreciating the activists, the heroes and the heroines who actually fought and put so much effort in us achieving and realizing liberation. But we must say that we haven't got to total liberation, especially because we must understand that without quality education, you can never achieve total liberation. And that's why the struggle of young people in 1976, even pre-1976, in 1953, the struggle, if you backtrack, was on education as the fundamental liberator. So where we are now, if you do comparison, you will see that we cannot celebrate, especially because people in government now actually care less about young people. They care less about education. We have a Minister of Education who has been there for over 15 years. And if you look at the education system, it has not only became stagnant, but it is deteriorating. When we come back to COVID-19, we have lost 2 years of education, and the minister has no strategy of turnaround. So in the government, in parliament, we are actually disappointed, even with the young people that we were struggling with when we were in Fees Must Fall, who went to parliament and now are quiet about the struggles of young people, about the struggle of free, decolonized quality education. And we are disappointed what happened to the struggle that we're actually striving for. So obviously we can't be celebrating. There's a lot to be done. If you look at what the young people were fighting for, there is a huge gap even now. Unequal education still exists. Poor education still exists. Poor infrastructures within the education system still exists. You have more young people unemployed, and not just unemployed, but high and drunk on a daily basis because of the drug abuse, because of the unemployment that is taking place. So there's a huge, huge gap. And we are saying as young people, maybe it's time for us to unite beyond our political color, beyond our political affiliation, beyond our political regalia, and begin to appreciate that we are living today, but we are the future of the tomorrow. And if we don't sober up today and unite, we might not even have the future. We know that language is the fundamental liberator. Hence 1973 was fighting against Afrikaans. And today we have a Chinese language being introduced to South Africa. And so we need to unite and review those things. Is it necessary to be taught in Chinese? And shocking enough, Mandarin, yes, thank you. And shocking enough, we have ministers whose kids are already studying that language. What are they saying to you? They're saying they don't care, they are rich enough, their kids are well equipped enough, the inheritance is enough, and China can take over because their kids will be able to communicate with the Chinese. And for the rest of us, the poor will remain poor, the richer will become much more richer.
I want to go back to you saying that we need to, let go of our political colors, etc., and come together for one fight and go back to fees must fall. At some point, the youth of South Africa was together, besides which political party you're affiliated to, etc. But as you say, that doesn't seem to be working, because people get to Parliament and they sing a different song, or they stop singing completely.
Definitely. And you see the core roots within the struggle. While we're doing fees must fall, you will see political parties trying to infiltrate the struggle, because they are marketing, they are campaigning, they want to be there, they are pushing their PR stunt. And we were fighting that even during the fees must fall struggle. We're saying this struggle has nothing to do with the political color and political regala. It has everything to do with the struggles of young people, the students within the varsities, higher and lower education. And it's important that we stay away from there. And that is what motivated us to start an NPO youth organization called Abacha Force of Change, because we wanted that organization to be able to accommodate every young person. But if you go back even further, the purpose of the United Pan Africanism Movement is to reunite Africans regardless of where they are, by ethnicity and even by geographical area. So that is where we are now as Africans. And I think it's important that young people should realize that political parties are only dividing us amongst the political color that we are wearing. But the struggles that we are facing all of us, regardless of what color you are wearing. So if you are going to have a problem with access to higher education or load shedding, it doesn't skip you because you're wearing a certain color. And besides that, we have good leaders that are young. I can compare Julius Malema with Kantlalax, but because of different ways they are fighting. Who's going to be our leader if we promote division amongst young people? We need to unite and find common ground and make sure that we shape our future.
Just lastly, and a very short answer, I was having a debate that will actually air tomorrow afternoon at around 4 o'clock here on eNCA about Youth Day, where the youth is. Some people saying the youth of today is lazy, etc. And there's something important that a struggle stalwart of 1976 actually told me. He said back then their struggle was clear. Who they were fighting was quite clear. They were fighting an apartheid regime and, the colonization of black people and ill treatment of black people. But now our struggle is not clear. We don't really know who we're fighting. There's just too many things. A smoke mirror, and he actually called it that. What's your reaction to what he's saying, that we actually don't know what we're fighting?
True, we don't know what we are fighting because of the education system that we are being fed with. The education system is deliberately blinding the real enemy. And that is why, even when colonization began to start, it was through education. And that we need to identify that. So for you to solve any problem, you need to go to the core root. And if we want to understand who the real enemy is, we need to go back and begin to conscientize ourselves within the education system. By education system, we are not saying pen and paper in a classroom desk, but we are saying we need to continuously meet and conscientize each other as young people. But at this point, we have so many things: economy, corruption, unemployment. But what will help us to identify it better is for us as young people to unite under the banner of education as the fundamental liberator beyond our political colors.
Thank you so much for coming to studio and for speaking to us, and for saying that. I wish I actually had you in that debate, but we'll invite you for next year. Thank you for coming.
No problem.
That was Nhongo Solo from the United Pan Africanism Movement.